forward from it, and that's exactly what computer science is trying to do now. And by finding that little piece that they can relate to, it really helps change the conversation.
I think another big part of it too is, and given what your major is, I think you're probably familiar with some of these concepts, is our definition of the words we use. Like, we use these words like airing our grievances. Sorry, not to call you out, or us and them. We can't look at it like we're airing our grievances. We have to look at it like we're acknowledging some faults within a community. You know, we're not defending ourselves from belligerent attackers. We're having a conversation about problems within a subset of media as a whole. You know, the issues that video games face, they are not isolated to video games. Let's just talk about Academy Awards right now. How many directors that win Best Director are women? There's so many issues with media in general, and we need to acknowledge that this isn't a video game thing, this isn't a thing, this is a societal thing. And the sooner we can acknowledge that, and again, redefine the words we're using and put how we see stuff in a different perspective, the better, the easier it'll be for us to have a conversation about it.
I'll tell you, I can't fix the societal problems, right? But I can tell you, like, if your friends are the ones that are telling you, like, hey, I don't think video games are a worthwhile medium, you tricked them into playing a video game. And I'll tell you, I did this last week. This is the Bill method of how to trick people to play video games. There's two strategies. There's two games that I always use. Johann Sebastian Joust, right? And Button. I don't know if you guys have heard, it's like a Brutal Tactics OK now, right? Have you guys heard about this game?
I've heard about it.
Both of them are super simple. Both of them require no video game experience whatsoever. Insofar, you get to say it's a video game with Johann Sebastian Joust. And that's exactly what I did last week. 4 people came over my house who are super nerds, but are super liberal with all the liberal institution like I did, right? And they don't like video games. In fact, I took out the Move controllers, and one of my friends was like, I don't even want to touch that thing. Like, I don't want to get hooked on video games. Like, I hear all these crappy things about video games.
Is that, you said that's your friend?
Sorry. Yeah. But hold on.
I just pictured a
But then he sees us play the game, right? And he's standing out the outside being like, at first he's just like, I don't want. But we're playing Johann Sebastian Joust, a fun game which is immediately accessible. It doesn't require to know how your menus work or UIs work or hand-eye coordination. You're just playing with friends. And that joy that you see in the playing video games, I swear to God, as soon as we finished playing, he was like, I gotta play again. We played for hours, right? And that's the opener, right? Because the problem that we're encountering with your friends is that the reason why they don't say movies are evil is because they watch movies, right? They know the medium. It's not a scary thing because they interact with it on a regular basis, right? So the minute you demystify video games, the minute you put a video game in their hand and they enjoy the experience, then I was like talking about video games. I was like, yeah, there's this other video game called Papers, Please. It's gonna blow your mind, you know?
And that was
Papers, Please as well.
I think this is also, I think this is actually a really important point because it gets to a larger thing, right? We exist in a society where we have ceased to believe that people's minds can change, and we separate everything in this binary division. We are either Democrat or Republican, right? We are either right or left, and we either love video games or we hate them. And I know I've heard a lot of, well, I don't want to talk to those people. No, we have to. We have to engage in that dialogue because we can, right? Minds can change, people can change. We will learn things ourselves by engaging in that dialogue. So we can't just assume that there is that us and them mentality. But I saw a bunch of hands up. I thought I saw a hand back there. Do you have a comment?
I have a comment about this.
Yeah, throw in.
I don't know if your friends have a problem with video games or video game culture. If they're like, I don't want to be part of, like, I'll play Candy Crush, but I'm not like you. You could let them know that, like, a feminist critique of a game isn't an outsider looking in. We're gamers, and we say, hey, we're already in this space, but we want to talk about it in this way, and we want these.
Mother led a group that said, Dungeons and Dragons were going to kill you.
There's somebody Satan!
Yes.
Tom Hanks made a movie about it.
And this time, TSR, which was the largest gaming RPG company in the world, ran away from these people like crazy.
We'll stop by the time we get there.
The 1983 Dungeons and Dragons animated series deliberately dropped clerics because they didn't want to bring up the issue. But all it took was one writer, one freelance writer, Mike Stackpole, that had some backup for a couple of different companies that were very minor at the time, Flying Buffalo, and he took these people on, and it took 3 or 4 years, but he broke them.
Well,
And I'm saying that it doesn't require, massive lobbying in order to break these groups. It just requires somebody to stand up and say, and fight back respectfully and politely. But literally, Mike Stackpole spent 2 years in the mid-'80s actually going around to police departments in the country saying, no, if somebody is playing D&D, it doesn't mean they're a murder suspect, right? So there are the social problems that you talk about, just talking with your friends, but also on the lobbyist problem, it just requires people to not run away from the conflict.
I'm a history and political science major, and I do American political history. The environment of lobbying in the 1980s and the environment of lobbying today is so wildly different. We're in an environment right now where lobbying organizations have a lot of money. In the 1980s, there was money. It wasn't like it is today.
and I absolutely agree with you, but also
No, I'm not saying
no, you're actually totally right. But there's also 100 million of us,
Yeah.
and I know that I have talked to Congress people and senators, and if they get 100 million letters or even 10,000 letters on a day from their own constituents, it still does matter. So maybe we can't fight it as individuals, and you're absolutely right. Lobbying firms have huge amounts of money, but on things that functionally don't matter to senators, we can make them matter if there's nobody fighting on the other side by actually just reaching out, right?
Yeah, totally. What I meant was,
As far as I know, there are no groups that are going around and telling people gaming is evil. There's no people that are paying lobbyists on the other side.
Well,
Right
there
now.
was that guy, the Miami lawyer.
And then, I mean, there are.
But also, there was the guy, what you said about like the 100 million of us. I'm actually an MPA student right now. And for one of our classes, we actually had a bunch of guest speakers who worked in Congress and around Congress. And one of them was a lobbyist and for the National Pork Council. The good pork, the bacon. and we asked him, we've never heard of you guys before. Like, we've heard of Chamber of Commerce, we've heard of, and he goes, well, basically, it's pork farmers and pig farmers, and it doesn't sound like, and their budget is not a bit, it's like less than $1 million, but they can mobilize
Right.
quickly, and they can just flood Congress with letters and phone calls from all the farmers, because they will get united really fast. So anytime like the farm bill comes up or any type of thing comes up, they can mobilize their base quickly to make sure that the congressman knows that. It puts a lot of pressure on them, and they back down very quickly when they see this massive.
Didn't something like that kind of happen when SOPA was still a thing, like going around Congress?
Yes.
I saw your video for SOPA.
Yes, the SOPA PIPA stuff, I mean, was fought by citizens against giant corporations, so it is possible. But I just want to interrupt just real quick. Are there other Mages people here? I know that there were, everybody who's part of Mages, do you just want to just stand up, introduce yourselves? Do you want to tell what Mages is?
All right, so I'm the coordinator of Majors. Jeremy Pesner here is my assistant in many ways. For those who don't know, Paul is the president of MAGFest. This is... Just walk through the door with Sam Castry and other of our mages. So, Chanel, you want to introduce yourself as well?
Hi everybody, I'm Chanel Summers, and I was one of the panelists and speakers at Mages. I've been in the game industry for about 20 years, I'm dating myself, and I focus primarily in the area of interactive audio for digital media. Been at a number of innovating games companies, including Microsoft, where I worked on direct music, the original Xbox team, and then was also recording and touring drummer, my own,
No, keep talking, that's great. Sorry.
a lot of, I I've got my own audio production and consulting company, and I teach the art of video game audio at the University of Southern California, as well as a lot of other prestigious universities as well. So great to meet everybody. I have to say, this is my first MAGFest, and it was incredible. It was amazing. Best audience ever.
Sure. My name is Sam Castry. Despite all appearances, I am a lawyer. I stand out in the crowd. It's good. Thousands of people running around.
I don't trust you as my lawyer, trust me.
Anyway, my practice, I have a lot of small indie game developers as clients, and I focus primarily on entertainment and intellectual property laws. Yeah, I'm available.
All right, now I believe you're a lawyer.
Should we spread out the mages instead of one conversation?
I've been like,
So we can talk to each one like.
I've been really liking the amount of back and forth. Like, I like having everybody be able to share and communicate. And so, if anybody wants to grab any of us individually, you probably just run up and say, "Come here for a sec." But we had other thoughts or questions. Anybody want to shoot? You're calling on people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just calling on people to say stuff. You're figuring out exactly.
Glasses back here.
Okay, so we're trying to make a game, and we use extra credits as basically required watching for learning, a lot about what we have to do. And we've been having a debate over whether or not to use 2D or 3D. Some people in our group really want to do a 3D game because that's the kind of games that they love the most. They feel like that's the most immersive, and they really enjoy them. Others are more hesitant because 3D is a lot more difficult. And we want to start with the 2D and maybe do a 3D later. We were wondering if you could help us with that debate.
So, one, it depends how much you know, right? If you've got people who really know 3D inside and out, depends on your team composition, what you want to build. I would start small, and I would start 2D. On the other hand, if you're using something like Unity, there's the asset store. You can buy, for not very much money, a lot of what you need to get something built. Just whichever one you choose. So I would recommend 2D personally. If you have people who are good 2D artists or are capable of doing 2D art. Okay, I'm gonna take a step back from that. I would recommend things which are boxes as your first game. Boxes are easy. Boxes anyone can do. I don't care whether or not you do them in 2D or 3D. Right, Thomas was alone great with boxes. Yeah. And I just scope small, keep it to 5 minutes. I would even look at some of the short Flash experiences that are really good. They get lots of people noticing, and get it completed, right? Don't get hung up on these initial things. Just make sure that the scope is small enough that you can see the path from here to the end and all the steps in between. And then after you've done it once, you'll have a lot better idea of how to make that decision for the bigger project. Don't begin the bigger project until you've tried it once and you have some information about you and your team.
And one thing I'll add to what James said too is that usually the game necessitates it, and you kind of know. There's some exceptions, obviously, and if it's right on the edge, definitely go 2D. For example, if you're making a first-person shooter, that doesn't really make any sense to make it 2D, but...
Except for Doom and Wolfenstein.
It's billboarded. It's a 3D environment.
Right, but all the art is 3D art. Right, so you still have to only build 3D art. You don't need somebody who knows 3D art or
right, but you still have to do some of the programming with it too.
But you don't have to do rigging and modeling.
That's the important thing. Focus on strength.
Why don't you get the guys who want to do 2D and the guys who want to do 3D
and Thunderdome.
But
real quick, I'm kind of interrupting to answer a question that was over here, sort of. These guys can do their thing however they want to do it, but basically this panel is going to continue until about 5 a.m.
Totally true.
Because around midnight, it's officially my panel, and it's basically just this.
Yes! Thank you, sir!
Except a little less formal.
So we can actually Thunderdome at midnight. I like it.
conversations, and then like eventually they'll probably escape, but Chris will stay here with me until 6 a.m.
So, no, I never got to finish.
Yeah, finish.
I mean, we got to Thunderdome, but anyway, why don't you get the people who want to do 3D, choose like the 3D game that they most like, empathize with, the thing that makes them believe that 3D will give them an immersive experience, and get the 2D people to also find a 2D game that, also would bring an experience, and then just have each side play the other side's game and kind of, take notes and figure out, why 3D does immersion the way it does and why 2D can also do immersion the way it does. And so, you kind of start a conversation and all that.
My personal thought.
Okay, Thunderdome would be pretty good though.
If we Thunderdome, we'll film it. No, all right.
That's how you do fundraising.
I'm a software engineer with many, many years experience. I started in 3rd grade. I have patches in the Linux kernel. I've done virtual memory performance analysis for a living. Write the damn 2D game.
Again, following what he was saying, sorry to disagree with you pretty strongly, but so far I've been a part of 4 different projects. The first 3 were all very high-minded. We all had really big goals. One theoretically might still be going somewhere. Everything else was crashed and burned. And those were all 3D. The ones that succeeded, though, were when I was part of a game development club. I was actually running it at Piedmont Community College down in Charlottesville, and it was small, very, very small 2D games. One of the only ones we produced was called "Don't Shoot Cats, Shoot Apples." No joke. All it is cats and apples fall from the sky in a little rotating turret, and your goal is to shoot the apples, but not the cats. That's literally it. That's all.
Wait a second. So as a train, you can get a hold of the oatmeal very quickly. There could be some copyright infringement going on.